Hello everyone, Timid Falcon Knight here, and welcome back to Road to 1K. This week's match is going to be this Tier 1 Fog game on 1v1 facially against user Princess Bestis at a rating level of around 950, so upper beginner sort of level. So let's get started. This is, I think, the second Tier 1 Fog game I've covered, so I'll get a little bit more into the tier in general, as well as the specifics for this map. Now, for this map, I'm going to focus more on the player 2 down here, because that's what I played for this match, but basically you have your weak side on the left here, or up in the right corner for player 1, with one base and some airport support. You can funnel air units through here and send them up north this way if you want to. And that's got your HQ side as well. And then on the right you have your two bases in your airport here. And this is more of your strong side because it has two bases, but it's also a bit easier for your air units to funnel through here. Especially if once you take out this pipe seam here. This pipe seam here is also another important thing to take out early, because, well, it's basically important if you want to get your vehicle units through here, because your infantry can just head north from here if they really want to. But your vehicles you want to send straight through here as opposed to sending them all the way around this way. Now, to be completely fair, it's not that big of an increase in movement. It's just an extra 2 tiles, but that is the difference between making it to be able to attack into this forest here and making it to be able to attack into the city here. So basically, I guess it's more of the difference between being able to make it to the city, to chain into the city in 2 turns, and to attack into the city in 2 turns. Now that's a big difference because if you're not able to make it into the city, then if you're not able to make it into the city, then you're not going to be able to take advantage from both the defensive bonuses as well as the healing bonuses once you have it captured. Sturm's really good in this map. If you take a look at the map analysis, he actually has a 70% win rate, which is why he's banned in Tier 1. Or at least he was banned when this was still in the Global League. This map has since been kicked out of the map pool, at least for now. And it's not that great. So it's one of those maps that's like a bit more of a legacy map, I guess. It's probably going to come back into the map pool at some point, but for now it's not present. But yeah, your main 2 flanks are going to be fighting around this city or this city on your weak side, and then your comm tower, and then pushing into this as well on your strong side. If you're really doing well, you can push into like this city, maybe into the comm tower if you're doing super well on your weak side. But generally speaking, that's going to be on your opponent's properties. It's going to be the comm tower and probably these 2 cities. Maybe not this one, but well, probably this one, because you have this this base right here, and this base is mainly for sending out infantry across this mountain, but they can also send vehicles around the long way. So yeah, and because honestly, so the reason why Sturm is so good that he's banned on this map is because of the placement of these forests, which makes it a bit especially around this area, because you have to go through 2 forests here, which makes it a lot harder to get into this. But if you're playing Stern, you can actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can actually attack into into the con tower from your weak side base with a tank. From 2 turns, which is kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. That's an insane advantage that you're able to contest the com tower so easily with your tanks. Even if you, without breaking this pipe seam, you can contest it pretty quickly in 2 turns with a recon as well. I think you can actually move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you can definitely get a recon onto there in 2 turns if you're playing Sturm. Same from your strong side as well, but like it's crazy how small and compact this map is, and how, honestly open it is, and how busted Sturm is on it. But I guess I'm going to go over Tier 1 pretty briefly. Grit's in Tier 1 here because he's bad in Fog, and you will see that illustrated immensely in this battle. I think Grit's only really good in Standard because of zoning, and because your opponents generally in Standard aren't going to be able to afford expensive air units on a daily basis. That's why he's really bad in high funds as well, because you can just counter him with air units and you can afford them more easily in high funds. But in Standard, you can't afford them as easily, so that's why he's getting there. But he's awful in Fog, and you will see why later. But it has a lot to do with vision and not being able to threaten as easily with his indirect range. Then you have Hawk. Hawk's pretty good overall. He has an extra comm tower basically on every day, and he has global damage and global healing with both of his powers. He gets 1 damage and heal for his normal, and 2 for his super. So that's really good overall, just in general. Then you have Javier, who you need at least 1 comm tower for him to be pretty good. He's good against indirects, and he has extra defense from comm towers. So he's pretty good overall. He's better if you have more than 1 comm tower, but he's acceptable. I'd say he's a pretty good CO in Tier 1. Even if there's just 1 comm tower, because he does get a defense boost up against indirect, so he's pretty good in indirect-centric maps. This map isn't really too indirect-centric, though, so I don't think I would pick him in this map. If we check the analysis, let's take a look at, where is he? He's only got a 49% win rate, so it's not terrible. It's like 50-50 for him, but I wouldn't really pick him. Sasha, I think the map's too small for her because she doesn't really have much of a day-to-day boost other than her income advantage. She gains an extra 100 funds per city, well, per property, and that makes her pretty good on large maps. But this on a map like Facially, where you're only going to be getting probably, I want to say 20-ish. So you'll be able to get an extra 2 grand, so it's not bad or anything, but really Sasha wants a bit bigger of a map to be pretty good on. And if you take a look here, Sasha's really only at 43%, so that's a good amount below average. Von Bolt is at 58%. He's always pretty good because he's basically Hawk with extra defense and worse powers. So he gets a 10% day-to-day defense boost and a 10% attack boost day-to-day. So he's a little bit, he can be a little bit more aggressive day-to-day than Javier, but he obviously doesn't have the same defensive bonuses against indirects. So he's better than Javier on most maps because most maps aren't really indirect centered, especially in Fog. So definitely not a bad pick, but I think I prefer Hawk to Von Bolt in this map just because with Hawk's global damage, you can just gradually overwhelm your opponent for your sheer numbers. Whereas your opponent can play around Von Bolt's missile superpower, which is, I think he only gets the one superpower. Yeah, he gets the Ex Machina missile, which is not bad. It's stuns, which allows you to follow up on it. But in Fog, I don't think it's nearly as good as it could be, as it is in Standard, anyways. So. Yeah, I think the pick on this map is definitely Hawk. I could see going Von Bolt or maybe Javier. Definitely accurate though, because this map is very, very, very open. Now, the forests make it a bit harder for you to reinforce. It makes reinforcements a lot slower, which is why Sturm's pretty good on this map because he has fast reinforcements. But especially in Fog, where it's bad. And I will show a bit why. I think I'm just going to go ahead and get started. This center area here, generally you're going to get you have a side on your strong side and your opponent's going to get these properties on the weak side. The labs, I guess this lab goes to the weak side, so that one's a bit closer to your weak side. So if you really want the lab, you can get it. I think the rules for this actually have lab units, which is kind of interesting. But I don't think it's super relevant because the map's only like 20k-ish in income, so you're not going to be able to afford too many expensive units anyways, unless you save up when you have 3 bases and 1 airport. So yeah, I guess that's a preamble. Took a little bit longer than I expected, but that's fine. Let's go ahead and take a look at the actual match. So, first thing that you might notice is that, actually so far so good, but first thing you'll notice here is that that I'm just moving my infantry north through the mountains, and that's kind of how this map goes, is you send your infantry across these mountains, and these bases are really mainly infantry bases. Well, this one especially is mainly an infantry base. This one is your weak side one is an infantry base, and once you pop open this pipe scene, it's also not too bad for vehicles, but you will see more of that in a second. As far as like capture chains, there aren't any like super smooth capture chains in this map. So I would say on your weak side, just send in your infantry as far as you can, obviously, I guess. But also go for the artillery pretty quickly. Now, as you can see, I had just enough income to get the artillery and the 2 infantry. Or maybe it was just 1 infantry. But anyways, you want to get this artillery out basically as soon as possible. And the reason is so that you can blast open this pipe scene so that you can send your reinforcements for here a bit faster and get to this city, contested city easier, as I explained earlier. So that's the main thing. Grit goes for the artillery here early as well, which is fine. And as you can see, mainly doing infantry here. I actually go for the mech here. And I think the reason I go for the mech is to help me blast open this pipe scene a little bit faster. So that's always a good option when well, it's not always a good option, but it's an option in pipe scene maps, is you can always just build a mech to help blast open pipe scenes a little bit faster. That's another reason why Von Bolt and Hawk are actually pretty good in this map as well, is because the extra comm tower helps them blast open this pipe seam like right away, which lets them oh, no, that's fine. Which lets them which lets them do things like this, where I have this blasted open and I can move in with my recon pretty early on. And as you can see, I have a recon here as well on this side pretty early on. That's a good, always a good option when you're facing Grit, is to have a lot of recons, especially in fog. Because recons are very good against artillery, which Grit likes to spam a lot, which means that if you have, and very good for vision as well, which means that if you're making Grit spam recons and stuff in the fog like this, you're able to you're basically forcing him to build tanks if he wants to take out the recons. Otherwise, you can just outmaneuver his artillery with them. He moves in on my units over here on the strong side. I don't think that was the best move. As you'll see, I was able to do some pretty good damage to his infantry here. And he's down a unit already at this point. So there's that. I have this mech slowly making its way up this way. And I'm moving my artillery over here to open up this pipe seam to be able to more quickly reinforce with my battlecopters up this way. I think this is the only artillery I built in this match, but it's a very useful artillery. So as you can see, I already have a battlecopter coming out. And that's another thing that you really want to do when you're playing against Grit, especially in fog, is you want to spam battlecopters as much as possible. Because not only does it force Grit to build anti-air in response, but you can maneuver around him up pretty easily, as you will see in a little bit. But as you can see here, just look at the vision. Here's the main reason why I don't like Grit in fog, is because he only has one vision on his artillery. He can't see anything with him. And I think that's aggravated by the fact that my opponent here isn't really building any recons. But vision is going to be a massive issue for him this turn. This guy was shot a bit, but he's into source now. As you can see, so he's sending in his infantry against my strong side here. I don't think that's a very good move as Grit, because with Grit, you kind of want to save up your infantry and use them to wall off your artillery, so that it's harder for me to push in against them. But he's moving in his infantry like that, getting them sacked. I actually go for a V cap here, which I think is a bit premature. I can see the artillery here, which has this in range, so and I'm not drawing fire from my recon or anything, so I think this is actually a bit aggressive, and I shouldn't have gone for the cap here. But I guess I'm kind of making him pick what to prioritize here, because I'm pushing in here again. This is pretty aggressive, honestly. I don't think I would do this right now, but yeah, because I shouldn't figure out that he's got artillery coming in this way. If he could easily have an artillery here and be throwing stuff off of this. But the good thing about this, I guess, is that I'm drawing fire from the pipe seam with my infantry here, which means it's going to be harder for him to reinforce in this area. So I guess it's not too bad, but I certainly think it's a bit aggressive for me to go in like this. But I think I can afford it a little bit because of his early push with his infantry into mine. But anyways, he caps stuff here. He takes out my infantry there, obviously. But now I have some intel on his artillery and stuff. You should be able to see my recon there, so I'm not sure why he moved in exactly like that. But honestly, it's not too bad of a move, because he can't really do much. And I can see all of this stuff, so I can see his infantry wall, so I know that I can't really push in like I've been trying to, so. And as you can see, this pipe seam still still not bursted up. And this one, I don't think he does anything with this at all this entire game. And I think the reason for that is because Grit's direct units are really bad, which makes his, which basically means he can't really use battlecopters all that often. I kind of like Mimi units and stuff, but like with Grit, battlecopters are so bad because, well, let's just take a look at a damage calculator. So Grit, battlecopter into Andy, battlecopter. It's actually not too bad. It's actually not too bad. Oh, wait, that's Andy. Yeah, it's kind of doing, well, it's doing more than you would think, honestly. So it's not too bad. If you have even one comm tower, it's actually doing, it's kind of almost doing 6 damage. So I honestly, if I'm Grit, I feel like a couple battlecopters aren't too bad of an investment. But like for not the, and because you're playing Grit, it's a bit of a wild card thing to bring out in a battlecopter or something. So, and it sort of forces your opponents to build anti-air. It doesn't really force them to build anti-air, but it kind of does. So it's not too bad of an idea. I'll get a second recon on my weak side so that I can see as much as I can over here. But as you can see, you're kind of running into Grit's weakness over here, which is that because he is limited to artillery like this, it makes him pushing in. It makes it a lot harder for him to push in. Now, I feel like he also shouldn't be splitting his forces like this. He should have at least one more artillery on this side than he has on this side. But we'll see how well it does overall, I guess. As you can see, I saw that anti-air fall into there. Honestly, I should be assuming that he only has the one anti-air in this area, so I might want to be prioritizing it. He's actually going pretty aggressive into this city here, so that's a move. But I counter like this with my mech and infantry, and I saw his artillery move into the forest here, so I'm able to just move in like that after I clear his infantry off of there and get a nice shot off on his artillery like that. I also move in like that and get a good amount of vision here, but as you can see, I kind of straight into the artillery path here. So, but I do not see any anti-air in the area, so I do take a nice shot off with my battlecopter. I move in like that on his artillery, as opposed to the anti-air. Honestly, I feel like moving into anti-air would probably be the better option, but this isn't too bad. And I think the main reason I did that was because I didn't really expect to have the second artillery right here. But if it's Grit, you should always expect to have more artillery. He's always going to have more artillery. So, not the best play on my part. As you can see from below, I'm actually taking a ton of damage there. But he isn't able to actually do anything against my battlecopter here, so far so good. He's actually built a battlecopter of his own, which isn't too bad. It's a good support unit for Grit, and it helps with the unit count. But as you can see, he's kind of we're basically even in unit count still. So far so good for him. Although this is before I build this turn, so I feel like I'm a little bit ahead maybe, but oh well. It's not like an insurmountable difference quite yet. As you can see, I am spamming battlecopters as much as I can. As you can see, recon battlecopters, doing as much of those as I can. And then I have another tank to follow up here against this anti-air as well, which is really important as well, I feel. He does some good damage over here, moving in like that. Sort of kind of forcing me to sack these two units. We're kind of as good as them. So at this point, I think what I do is I just attack with them anyways, to try and sort of finish them off. Honestly, I might have wanted to pop my normal power here, but I save up for the super, because why not? Because I feel like I'm going to be able to push better over here if I use my super later on. is I think my main reasoning for it. And then I'm pushing with my artillery over here as well, trying to secure these caps over here. Oh my god. But anyways, he's moving in. He's trying to make a little bit of a push here. Honestly, but as you can see here, he's got his superpower if he wants it, but he can't see anything. And that's the main issue here. I have this tank in range, which would be in range of his artillery here if he had something to shoot at it. If he popped his superpower, he'd be able to just take out this tank if he wanted to, but he can't. And the reason he can't is because he can't see anything. And the reason he can't see anything is because he didn't build any recons. And I think that's my opponent's main mistake in this match. Is he didn't build any recons, and I feel like he spread out his artillery way too much. He should have had more in a block, and then just pushed down south as quickly as he could towards my HQ. But instead, he kind of spread them out, allowing me to just pick at them with my recons and everything without, and just finding holes in his line like I've been doing. So I think that's my opponent's main issue in this match. As you can see, I'm actually doing a good amount of damage here with my infantry, actually finishing off his his anti-air with my battlecopter here. But making some pushes against his infantry as well, trying to put some holes into the infantry wall here as much as I can. Go ahead and pop my Black Storm as well, and that is just devastating for Grit, because now instead of having a bunch of nice full health artillery, he has a bunch of 8 health artillery. And honestly, the damage difference is kind of crazy. It's to a point where he can't really secure kills on my full health units with them, even if he pops his super as easily as he might have been able to prior to this. So he goes ahead and pops his super, but because he can't see anything, he's not going to be able to do too much damage with it. As you can see, I think he took a shot at my full health recon. He's not even able to kill it with the 8 health artillery. So that's bad luck for him. But honestly, he should have been building recons this entire time. I don't think he built a single recon this entire match, which is kind of crazy to me. Because recons are like one of the most instrumental units in FUG. You want to have as many as you can, and you want to keep them around for as long as you can, just for the vision bonuses that they give, just so that you can see. And it's super, super important to do that when you're playing Grid as well, because your artillery don't have any vision. And I'm going to keep on reiterating this, but that was a big, big mistake on my opponent's part for this match. So as you can see, this guy actually survived. Looked like he died, but he didn't. I'm able to take a nice shot here on the anti-air with my mech, actually. So I'm able to move in with my battlecopters up here if I want to later on, but I don't think that's what I'm going to do. Instead, I'm pushing a bit, as much as I can, into his weak side with my battlecopters. And I think that's generally what you want to do, is push as hard and fast as you can into the weak side. And with as many Yarn units as you can as well. And the main reason for that is because if you spam air units over here, well, as you'll see in a little bit, you might actually be able to pressure this base a lot easier, because you can fly your battlecopters over this mountain. But also against Grit, because air units are so good, so effective against indirects. And because of the rivers and everything on this map, I'm able to just play around with them with his artilleries and just take them out easily. Like he's only got a couple left over here, and I've got so many units in this area, and he can't see any of them either, which is crazy. It's crazy that he can't see anything in this entire area, but that's what happens when you don't build any recons at all. So yeah. As you can see, I'm pushing in over here, and honestly, I feel like after that superpower, I think that superpower was really where the game was decided. Because as you can see here, he's way down on unit count. He's way down on unit value, and I don't think he's able to ever come back from that, from me popping my superpower. So that's another reason why Hawk is pretty good, is because he can just press a button and there goes a big chunk of your opponent's army. A lot of your a lot of the damage that you did to his units is healed as well. It's not nearly as good as like Andy, because he does crazy amounts of damage with that, but he does crazy amounts of damage with that. But as you can see here, he's desperately trying to hold on here and move his artillery in to prevent me from capping his base. But actually, as you can see here, the capture limit for this map is actually kind of small. It's only 23. And I'm quickly approaching that extra 3 caps for this thing. So I actually popped my normal power here to get a little bit of extra stuff going on over here. And I'm trying to push into his base here to try and block it as effectively as I can as well. So, but as you can see, the income gap here is like, he's not gonna come back from this. So I'm gonna just try and get through this as quickly as I can, because I think I am going a little bit over what I would like to. You can see the bomber coming out here, but he is actually able to knock me off the HQ here with his 2 artillery here, so that's not too bad on his part. This was a big mistake though. He attacked into my battlecopter with his injured anti-air, and he's not going to be able to do enough damage to actually knock out my battlecopter here. And not only is he not able to, I'll wait for a second. He's basically base skipping with a weakened unit on his base, and that's never a good idea to do. So what he should have done was just build an anti-air so I wouldn't be able to do what I'm about to do here, which is take him out like that and move in with my battlecopter to base block him. And that's really effective, honestly. I'm able to move in with my other units here, able to take out his medium tank here, which honestly he shouldn't have built. He should have built a bunch more anti-air, because he saw my swarm of battlecopters coming after him. Maybe a missile. A missile would have been fine as well. Actually, because he gets crazy range with his missiles. Or maybe a rocket, but he went for a medium tank instead, and there isn't too much that it can do here, because all I've got here is battlecopters mainly. I got a tank and some recon, so I can see what I'm doing and so that I can take care of anti-air, but that's about it. See my bomber moving in, but it doesn't matter too much. And I think it's next turn that this game is over, because I'm vastly quickly approaching the capture limit here. Which you should have recognized as well. It was the end state of the game if you wanted to keep on playing, but like he's so far behind at this point, it doesn't matter too much. So I just get this cap here, which gets me to 22, and this last one, which gets me to 23. It doesn't really show, but yeah. Oh. Yeah, it doesn't really show that I have this cap, but I do. I think my opponent's main mistake on his part was not building a single recon. That was a bad idea on his part. Second thing was he had his artillery way spread out. Artillery are really effective when we're in a ball, but when we're spread out like this, I'm able to pick out, and your opponent is able to pick at them and pick them apart like this, it's not too good. He would have been able to push a lot more effectively if he had just built lots of artillery over here, maybe a couple missiles actually, but also battlecopters and anti-air in this area, and then just pushed southwards towards my HQ. And then maybe put a couple artillery over here to cover his HQ in this area as well. Once I started pushing heavily into this area. That's the other issue with Grid, is that he isn't, his artillery takes a while to move into position. So it isn't as easy for him to front shift as someone like Hawk or, well, literally any other CL is able to do. But I think I've been going on for a bit long, a bit too long. So that's it for this match for the day. Next week will be a max fight on Caustic, which is my favorite map actually. I fucking love Caustic. But it's going to be Max versus Rachel, and honestly, This Rachel did it was a lot more annoying than you would think, because Rachel is tier 3, and I think that's standard. Yeah, Caustic is standard. And I was playing Max. But Rachel was a bit more annoying than you would think. Of course, Max obviously throws her around like a ragdoll, especially in Caustic. But you can look forward to that, I guess, next week. This is going to be another sort of tier-based video, I guess, just to show the difference in tier levels. But I will say this. Rachel's superpower is pretty good, and you will be able to see its used to some effect in this map as well. So tune in for that next week if you're interested. Otherwise, I think that's it for this week. So I'm out. Peace.